G'day family, God bless everybody. I can see via my posts on the community tab and the comments that there is quite a lot of people that aren't happy with me right now. Well, that's okay, I can handle that, and it's also your prerogative to be unhappy with me. But if you're watching this video now, I'm doing this ahead of time. Sunset in Tamati is at 6:24 or something like that approximately. So sunset there is in less than 1 hour. Now, if we are to do things 100% consistent and biblical across the board, then that means it's the 24th in that location. There are about 8,000 people living there. I'm sure there's some Christians there. After all, it's the Christmas Islands group. So let's just assume that it becomes the 25th there in less than an hour. In less than an hour would mean it would be say an hour. So it's going to be 7:30 a.m. in Jerusalem when it is sunset, and hence the 25th on the Christmas Islands. Now, if we were to not use sunset, say we were just to use sunset in Israel, but use midnight in every other location, then you can see the difference between the Christmas Islands and Israel is about 11 hours. So at about just before 1 p.m. in Israel, it will become the 25th via midnight in Christmas Islands. So were there to be a rapture that complied with it being on the 23rd and the 24th, we would need to see that before 1 p.m. in Israel. Now, I'm not saying a rapture can't be today, because Mike identified that it was 3 p.m. that Jesus gave up the ghost. So it could be 3 p.m. But this is being a Berean and bringing everything back to Jesus. That's what I'm trying to do here. So if we do not see a rapture before 1 p.m. in Israel, our current vision and conversation with Jesus about the 23rd and the 24th is defunct, completely defunct. Now, if we are going to be consistent and go via sunset, then the idea of a rapture being on the 23rd and the 24th, it was the 23rd and the 24th, which was meant to cover time zones and no man knowing the day or the hour and the signing of the moon and all that sort of stuff. Well, in that case, if we were to go only via sunset, like I said, we've got less than an hour left. But please don't get the idea that I'm poo-pooing anything, that I'm saying the rapture isn't going to happen today, because it still could. It could happen when Mike sees it at 3 p.m. in Israel, when Jesus gave up the ghost. Now, 3 p.m. in Israel would be well and truly past sunset in the Christmas Islands. It would also be past midnight in the Christmas Islands. So that would bring the focus back to Jesus again and away from a man's vision, which we don't know, at least by my maths, for another hour and 15 minutes, as you can see on the bottom there, which we don't know is true or not. So I'm not 100% poo-pooing it. But what I am poo-pooing is the hype that came with all this and the focus that seemed to be taken off Jesus. Now, you can't tell me that that didn't happen. I have lost so many subscribers the moment I say anything negative about Joshua. And I'm not saying anything negative about Joshua. I don't really care for any man, in so much as Jesus is my priority, and I was told by him to be a Berean. So I'm not having a go at Joshua, I'm not being nasty to him, but I'm also not going to take exactly what I hear from people verbatim when I'm told by the scriptures that there is a process that we need to go through to evaluate these things. So, by my reckoning, as I said, we have got an hour and some minutes left for sunset in the Christmas Islands. Or if you want to extend that until midnight in the Christmas Islands, that would be around about 1 p.m. in Israel, because there are 11 hours difference. You can see they are 4 hours ahead of me. Here I am, Hobart time at 0 hours. Jerusalem 7 hours behind. So that would mean that there's 11 hours total difference between Jerusalem and the Christmas Islands. And you could probably extend that out a little bit more if you went to some of the uninhabited atolls and islands, etc. I've just gone for one with a reasonable population. I'll show that to you. We can see that they have a population as of 2020 of about 7,369. So I imagine probably by 8,000 odd now. They are called the Christmas Islands. That's from the phonetic interpretation from their language. As you can see there, I won't read all that out. But they are the Christmas Islands. I would imagine they would have had Christian missionaries there at some point in time. I imagine there would be Christians there, possibly even Jews. Now, if I was a Jewish person who observed sunset as the change of the day, and I just happened to be on a holiday on the Christmas Islands, I would personally be looking at sunset tonight to say that's when the day changes. So we could extend that to midnight. That gives us, like I said, till about 1 p.m. in Israel. Now, we had a lot of things that people were using as confirmations, all right? And this is how you be a Berean. You look at confirmations and see if they continue to line up. One of them was Trump's speech at the UN. Well, all of that's fallen through. We haven't had the speech. We haven't seen any signing of anything. We know that about 11 more countries indicated that they are supporting Palestine. Australia was one of them, but there've been no strengthening of agreements, nothing signed, etc. at this point in time. So everybody was sort of correlating his speech to a time in Israel. Well, that doesn't work anymore, unfortunately. That one has definitely fallen through. As I said, the 23rd and the 24th will, as far as I'm concerned, fall through in an hour or so. We could still be, nonetheless, looking at a 3 p.m. rapture, because this is all based on Israel, right, and Jesus. And everybody's taken it to other places and broadened the scope too much. So, a 3 p.m. rapture in Israel. It wouldn't match Brother Joshua's dream or vision, but it would certainly bring the focus back to Jesus, because that shows us this is a God thing, not a man thing. I was just really worried about, it was almost cult-like behaviour that I was seeing regarding this Feast of Trumpets and stuff. People would smash you for no reason in comments, tell you everything that you've looked at, researched, read, or understood was wrong, simply because some person has told us the rapture's going to happen on this day. Well, like I said, the clock is ticking and we don't have a lot of time left. What else was I going to mention? Okay, some dates that I'm looking at that could be significant. Today, today is a date that I am looking at still. Potentially 3 p.m. in Israel. But that won't be because of anybody's vision. That'll be something God's done. Potentially sunset in Israel, because that does officially end the 24th for them, and that's what this is all about. Now, perhaps all this has come about because people haven't understood Brother Joshua correctly. Maybe he should have said 23rd, 24th and 25th, because for it to be the sunset on the 24th in Israel, well, it's already the 25th, as I said, in Christmas Islands. So maybe we should have added an extra day onto that. So there is still potential for this to be correct. But I don't think people were Bereans regarding this situation. Okay, and now you can see things are starting to fall apart a little bit. Like, you know, the UNGA and Trump and all the stuff that was supposed to go on there at 6:36 and all these different times that people come up with. Well, we've passed all that. Okay, so this is more a lesson for the community on how careful we need to be with God's word and being Bereans. So the dates I'm looking at, of course, today still, 3 p.m. and sunset in Israel. If we pass sunset in Israel, I think today's gone. However, Sister DJ informs me, and I can't, validate this just yet, that the majority of the outcome of the meetings at the UNGA will sort of be ratified on the 27th of September. Now remember, I see a 10-day gap where the Jews have got things wrong. Does the 27th of December, with potentially some UNGA meeting stuff, give us a bit of an idea that we could possibly be raptured then? Because 10 days later, the Jews are starting Sukkot, when they shouldn't be. Okay, so they've got the Hebrew calendar. On the Hebrew calendar, they've got it wrong again this year, the start date. But the Essene calendar, and here was a point about the Christmas Islands. You know, you have to include all places in the world, as you can see there. These little islands are clearly, gathering a Jewish sort of a community. Tiny little islands. 100 communities have welcomed the Chabad centres this year. This is all about island communities. Okay, so we have to include the whole world. This was for sunset. You can see on the very bottom there, daylight, 6:18 a.m. to 6:24 p.m. That's sunset in the Christmas Islands. As far as I wanted to go anyway. But let's just look at things rationally. Do we have a 7-day warning now from Feast of Trumpets, the 23rd, to when they should really start Sukkot? The Jews are starting it, according to their calendar, on October the 6th. On a static timeline, I believe it should start on September the 30th. Okay, you can see here on the Essene calendar, they have basically got it right. Now, personally, all the Feast of Trumpets hype aside, I have always thought that Sukkot, or as David has pointed out from the Temple Scrolls, the Feast of Huts, had the best typology for a rapture. It's a 7-day feast. The tribulation is 7 years long. We're going to the marriage supper of the Lamb, to tabernacle with him for 7 years, to escape all these things. So is perhaps the difference between the Jewish, Hebrew start of Sukkot this year and the Essene, which is still the Jewish but different sects, showing the 10-day difference that I mentioned we found in Jubilees and was supported by Enoch, etc. and how we should count the years, being 364 days and 91 day periods, with a gateway between each month. Mike has gone into this extensively. So right now, as I said, we are basically an hour. Let's have a look. Yeah, we're basically an hour away from sunset in the Christmas Islands. So if we don't see a rapture within an hour, I'm calling the Joshua vision incorrectly interpreted. Let me put it that way. I'm not saying anything about Brother Joshua and his salvation or anybody else. I am simply calling that vision incorrectly interpreted. And I'm moving on to 3 p.m. in Israel, sunset in Israel, then the 27th for things that could potentially happen on or about the UNGA meeting in the Division of Palestine, and then the 30th, because that is when Sukkot, the feast that I believe has got the most typology for rapture, begins or should begin. But it isn't when the Hebrew calendar has it scheduled. As usual, they have these things wrong. So guys, that's my update. I will put this video out after sunset on the Christmas in the Christmas Islands, so nobody can bash me. I'd like to say thank you to the dozens and dozens of people that have left the channel, simply because I decided it was best to be a Berean and not just jump in head first. So thank you for you guys that if you've left, that's good. Obviously, you just wanted your ears tickled and nothing more, because Jesus was not about tickling the ears of people. That's for sure. Now, since this Brother Joshua thing has come out, I have had to tippy-toe through the tulips with everybody, because the moment I said anything contrary, I got horrible comments, people leaving the channel, and that's important to me because subscribers are seeds. Okay, I'm not looking for popularity. I'm not monetized. Everything I do is at my own expense. And some of these subscriptions and things that we've had to do to keep videos going have cost money, which I've paid for myself. So subscribers definitely aren't about money or popularity. As you can see, I'm not the most congenial guy at times. My channel has been about promoting salvation through Jesus and Jesus alone, and being a watchman and continually looking for his return, but also being a Berean watchman. Okay, that's all it's been about for me. So this video, if you're watching it, as far as I'm concerned, the Joshua video's out. We're looking back at scriptural research in the Bible and being Bereans. 3 p.m. sunset. The 27th, if something gets signed associated with Palestine, and then the 30th, when Sukkot should begin. So God bless everybody. If you would like to bash me some more, feel free. If you'd like to unsubscribe, feel free. But if you think there has been some level of maturity and biblical discretion that I've shown, if you think that I've been a Berean and approached this as we should have done, then maybe this is one to like and share. Because, I'm not with trends, I'm with Jesus. God bless.